Hello everyone, I've got this new video series that I'm going to be starting, and it's going to be called A Few of My Favorite Things. It's a place for me to ramble off about the things that I love. The first one is going to be Undertale, which is fitting since the anniversary is today. 3 years now the game has been out, and I'm glad that I can call it a favorite again without any of the shame that comes with people assuming that I'm one of those fans who's like incest shippy and just kind of not a good person that like you want to be around. And this game came out for me right at the perfect time to have just a huge impact, because I played the demo first, which I can't give you the exact time that the demo was released, but I can tell you that I played it in March of 2014, which is right when I moved from my old town to a new one. It was a lot bigger of a town, the school that I went to was significantly larger, and it was still spring break. I hadn't had a chance to make any new friends, and my old friends weren't really talking to me because, I don't know, I think we kind of only talked to each other because we went to school together, which is pretty oof. But not only had I not had a chance to make any new friends and was pretty much being ghosted by my old friends, the room that I was staying in was really small. It was practically a glorified closet. A twin bed would fit in there with no room on, like, it would fit in there against the back wall, head to foot, you know. It would fit in there that way with no extra space on any side. And then a dresser would fit in there as well, as along with all of my boxes. I had to keep everything in a box because there was nowhere to put anything. And it was miserable. I hated that room. And I hated it so much. I hated that entire house. I hated the people I lived with. I didn't even want to go into a different room to be in a bigger space. I hated being there so much. And the only thing I didn't hate was role-playing on Tumblr. I roleplayed Red and Silver, who was the main character, and then the rival from the first and second generations of Pokemon games. And I had a friend that I'd made in this roleplay group that I had added on Skype. And one day they were like, hey, I've been playing this really cool game, and I think you would be really interested in it. And I was like, shit, man, send me a link. And so they did. And the game was the demo of Undertale, which right off the bat, it charmed me. I loved the retro style graphics, and I really liked the first interaction with Flowey. He was sort of a devious kind of character, and he subtly broke the fourth wall, especially if you ended up doing his first interaction multiple times, which I did do because my friend encouraged me to get as many different endings that I could, which I think was well worth it, even though in the final game I ended up not getting every ending, specifically because I couldn't beat Sans, and I'm at peace with that. I don't care that I couldn't beat Sans. I watched other people do it. I didn't want to do it. But it was great to have this thing that I could latch onto, this escapism that I could latch onto and talk about with this friend, that it was perfect. It was this thing that I could explore in multiple different ways, and it really inspired me. I mentioned this in the Let's Play series that I did that I no longer have viewable on my channel. I mentioned how I made a comic of one of my muses, it was Silver specifically, where he would be going through the underground, and I had him kill Toriel out of just not trusting her, because I wrote him in such a way that he couldn't trust anyone who said that they would take care of him, just because of his childhood. And he sort of immediately regretted killing Toriel, but I didn't know where to take it from there, because the game wasn't fully released. I didn't know what was going to come up next. Even though at the end of the the best ending, which I did not get the first time around because I was not very good at the game. I did end up killing some monsters. Even you do get to see a sneak peek of Sands of Papyrus. But like I said, on the first time, I killed some monsters, and what really got me about Flowey, I loved his whole ending bit, where he called himself the Prince of the Underground's Future, or something similar to that. And he listed off all the monsters that I had killed, and he's like, "Don't you think they had families?" or something like that. I can't remember. I don't remember if it's still the same in the final game, because I don't think I actually killed I don't think I actually ever killed any monsters in the ruins, unless I also killed Toriel, in which he goes off about how you just murdered Toriel. And I just liked the other fourth wall breaking aspects of the game, like where if you kill Toriel and then you reload it, it's like you consider telling Toriel that you saw her die, which is really messed up, but also really intriguing, just as a game thing. But ironically, despite the fact that this game pulled me out of that funk and talking to that friend was really helpful, I would lose touch with that friend and forget about the game. Until one day, shortly after the release of the game, so I'm going to say probably the 20th, considering that my first episode went up on the 23rd. And I know I definitely didn't immediately hop into doing the Let's Play. I did take some time to play it for myself first. But about the 20th, I saw where someone had reblogged a piece of art that someone had made of Waterfall, and it was tagged Undertale, and I was like, what? Huh? And I immediately went to the website for Undertale and saw that the game was released, and I was like, oh, holy fucking shit. And so I bought the game immediately. No regrets. I bought it immediately. I'd been waiting for it. Even if I'd forgotten about it, I'd been waiting for it. I just needed to remember. And so I bought it just immediately, and I started playing it again. And it was incredible. I loved it. It was so much fun to be thrown back into it. And just like I'm sharing my experiences with things now, I wanted to share the experience then too. Even though I didn't go into the details of my personal life, it was 2015, I was still fairly new to all of that, so I didn't really get into anything personal, whereas I'm definitely doing that now. I still shared how the game made me feel, how happy it was making me, even though I didn't let myself laugh at the Homestuck jokes. I didn't want to reveal that about myself. It was still too soon after the largest peak of Homestuck hype. It was too soon. So I hid that shamefully, because sometimes I have to step away from a fandom and then come back. And because I played it for YouTube, I did end up missing a lot of things, because I sort of I saw everyone else playing it too, and I wanted to watch everyone else play, but I didn't want to watch them play past where I had played, so I ended up going through mine really quickly so I could watch others. So I saw them get things that I hadn't seen, and so I just ended up, I played the game more times. I had so much fun. I do not regret going back and playing the game some more. If anything, I want to go back and play it some more again. Even though I don't think that there's anything new that I'm going to find between all of the videos that I've watched. I love it so much, and I want to go back and play it again. I became, hyper fixated on the game. It was amazing. It was incredible to play the game again and just have so much fun. It inspired me to make a lot of art, some of which I don't have for reasons, and some of which I don't have for other reasons. The other reasons being that one of the things I made was a calendar for 2016 that I ended up using as a calendar, as was its purpose, and it got really beaten up. I did not take good care of it. I was supposed to get it laminated. I did not. I see now why I was supposed to get it laminated. But I do have the front cover, January and February, which I will post like in the video. I will show those off. And then the other reasons why I don't have things is because of reasons. But moving on from those reasons, I was also making an AU, and I have a couple of things from this AU. I think I might have still have the sketchbook that I had this AU idea in, but it was one where everyone stayed in the underground. The barrier was not broken at the end of the game, and Frisk kind of grew up in the underground. They learned some magic. A new kid comes around, seems alright for like 2 years, and then suddenly turns on everyone and starts murdering. Because I wanted to have a situation in which Frisk would be the Sans fight. And I did have that situation, but Frisk, being a pacifist, did not go quite as far as Sans did. And actually did... Why is my phone going off? Stop that. I don't want your phone call. I wanted Frisk to be that Sans fight, but still be Frisk. That was my huge thing with AUs at the time, is I didn't really get into any of them because I felt like they took them so far away from who the characters were, and I felt like some of the attributes were based off of fanon qualities that I disagreed with. I'm not going to say all fanon qualities are bad, because sometimes, you know, they're really good. I have to admit, I'm fond of many I'm fond of some fanon characteristics that people give to characters because it makes them feel more alive, because sometimes canon slides right over some things and people get to insert their own sort of ideals in there, and I like that. But there were some AUs that were built off of fanon that I didn't like, and so it kind of prevented me from getting into them. I'm not trying to be pretentious with that. The AUs just weren't my flavor. And God, I spent all this time talking about the game. I'm actually talking about the art now, because there are some things that I feel like deserve some explaining. Just because I make art, I want to talk about my art. It sounds like such a lame justification. But I chose to do Frisk and Kara because Frisk obviously is the main character, but I'm also very fond of the idea that Kara is with you the whole time, and is sort of like the narrator, like telling you all the information, and is sort of like the dialogue boxes when you interact with items are always Kara. The red ones are just like the red text ones where it's definitely Kara are just supposed to be showing the determination that is within Kara, when, you know, in the normal game Kara doesn't have that, as they're not trying to possess Frisk's soul. So I went with Kara and Frisk, as they are the sweet precious children. So is Azrael, but I didn't draw Azrael. I don't know why I didn't also draw Azrael, because I very easily could have also drawn Azrael, but I just didn't. I just wanted to focus on Frisk and Kara. But Kara's not the evil character in my mind, even though, you know, I was like, the red is when they're filled with determination. I view their situation with taking Frisk's soul and the determination and all that as very similar to Flowey. Like how Flowey is to Azrael, because Flowey isn't Azrael. So I think the Kara that is seen in the Genocide run isn't really Kara. I'm not going to say that Kara was a good person, because it's stated in canon that they weren't the best. But it's not said that they were bad, just that they weren't the best. And so I see that as a lot of bad happened to Kara, and they never really learned how to cope with that. And so it came out in a lot of negative things. There was a lot that Kara didn't know how to deal with, and just sort of lashed out when they didn't know how to deal with these situations, because it can be terrifying when you don't know how to deal with how you feel, with how you process things that are going on. And I know from firsthand that, you know, you can do some bad things when you aren't properly coping with what's going on in your head. And so that's how I interpret Kara, because it is stated that they hated humanity. They didn't fall down for a good reason. So I see that, and that's how I interpret that. And when I look at the genocide run, I see that, like I said, much in the way of Flowey to Asriel. Flowey was a being with no soul, but was filled with determination. Kara doesn't take Frisk's soul until the end of the genocide route. So that whole time when they're controlling Frisk, they're an entity with no soul who's filled with determination. An entity with no soul who's filled with determination doesn't feel emotions normally. Flowey doesn't show really any emotion until the very end, when he's very sad. So we don't know the full, ability of a soulless entity to feel all those emotions. So I just see Kara as having become that, of being soulless and filled with determination, and unable to feel the regret from the things that they're doing. And Kara just means a lot to me. They mean quite a bit to me, especially in the, like I said, when you're mentally ill and you don't know how to cope, it can be terrifying and you can do some wrong things, because I know from firsthand experience how many wrong things can be done when you're mentally ill and you're not coping with it well. And there's also, moving away from why I picked the characters, there's also the location, because originally I was going to go with the marshy part of Waterfall, where it's like the glowing water and all the echo flowers, but then I changed that. You could see, like, in the very beginning where I was like sketching a path and all that, it was going to be the waterfall area, and I changed from that because of I played the demo, and so when I did the Let's Play series when the game was fully out, I was already familiar with the ruins and the tutorial. So when I got to Snowdin, it was the first time I was seeing something new from the game, and I was like, this is amazing. And it was that solidified my love for the game. So I was like, I'm gonna go with Snowdin. And not only am I gonna go with Snowdin, I'm gonna go with Kara cheering Frisk on, helping them continue on through all the trials that they're going to go through in the underground, with everyone seeing them as a human and, attacking, or, all the things that happen to Frisk when they're in the underground. Because this is that's what that game was for me. That game was, I was alone. I had moved from... And when I moved down to this area, it wasn't the first time I'd moved. I'd moved from the first house that I grew up in to another house, but, it was still familiar in that sense, and that's sort of what the ruins is. It's a new place, but, you still got your mom figure. It's still a home that's there, so, I was in a new place, but there were all the right elements to make it feel familiar. And then when I came down here, it was like stepping out into Snowdin. Everything was... It was really different. Theoretically, it was still like a nice atmosphere. Like when you get into Snowdin Town, it's a nice atmosphere, and all the people are friendly. So there was that, but it's not the same. And so that's why I went with Snowdin, as it was the symbolism probably would miss for a lot of people. A lot of people would probably just be like, oh, it's Frisk and Kara, and they're walking through the Snowdin Forest, and I'm like, this is a really emotional piece for me, in a way. But speaking of the emotionalness of the piece, the whole story had an impact on me, because, you should treat the people who deserve it with kindness, and always remember that you can't save everyone, and you can do everything that you can for them, but in the end, it's just unrealistic to expect that everyone can be saved the way you want them to be saved. So you can't always keep everyone in your life. If you have your differences, sometimes you just have to accept that, and you have to move on. You did everything you could. And I just think that's something I need to remember in my life. I can't always keep everyone around. There's gonna be differences. I'm gonna do what I can, and if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But that's okay. And so, all of that emotional gushing is why Undertale is one of my favorite things. Why it means so much to me. So, thanks everyone. This was another kind of emotions video. I know my coming out stories was a lot of emotions as well. I got a lot of emotions. I gotta talk them out sometimes. But, thanks everyone for hanging out, for listening in on my Undertale stories. And I will see all of you guys in the next video, which it won't be another favorites thing. I'm hoping to do... I've had a couple complications with this video, but I'm still hoping to eventually push it out, so it won't be a favorites thing, a favorite things. It'll be something else, and I will see you then. Bye!